A few months ago, I made a series of videos where I compared PlayStation and Xbox's business to retail giants Costco and Sam's Club, basically Walmart. In there, I talked about economic principles and how a lot of these businesses are subject to the forces of economics. They're not exempt. Just because video games are video games doesn't mean that when the market forces come after you, you're not going to answer them. You will be subject to them. Ghost of Yotei right now is under a lot of scrutiny. The VA that is actually responsible for the main character has now had their lives scrutinized, and because of the polarized environment that we're in, it appears that now comments have been seen on this person's Twitter account that seem to indicate that they hate people that are ideologically different from them. I want to go back to a very interesting story before I continue here. And this is a story about a comment or one of Michael Jordan's most famous quotes ever in his career, which he said, "Republicans buy sneakers too." He was asked about it and he said, well, that comment was made in jest. And I don't think that statement needs to be corrected because I said it in jest on a bus with Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen. It was thrown off the cuff, and my mother asked me to do a PSA for Harvey Gantt. And I said, look, Mom, I'm not speaking out of pocket about someone I don't know, but I will send a contribution to support him, which is what I did. So his mom was asking him and saying to him, hey, man, I want you to go speak, in favor of this candidate. And you know what? He looked and said and told, his friends, well, the other candidate and the people who support that candidate, they also buy sneakers. I wish these gaming firms would hire people that recognize this reality, because if they did, their market valuation will look much different than it does today. You see, the reason they're all dwindling all over the place and running all over the place while, other, big providers of goods and services like Walmart have valuations that are almost 4 to 5 times bigger than them is because they simply are not, fostering an environment where people who work for and represent them recognize the reality that MJ was actually talking about. As of September 2024, Walmart has a market cap of about $640 billion. You remember the other company that I used for this particular example? It was Costco. Their market cap and valuation is somewhere around, at this time, from February to now, about $392 billion. Sony is sitting at 119. You see, the grocery store that is not here to do a purity test is going to make money. Why? Because ideology A and ideology B like to buy eggs and milk and bacon and regular goods. No one is saying because your ideology is ABC, we don't like you. And honestly, we couldn't care less, or we couldn't care at all, I guess I should say, about the politics of the people who run Walmart or the people who run Costco. We just want to get some milk. We just want to get a loaf of bread. And in this case, gamers just want to play games. Hence, the polarization is coming from all sides. So seeing how this particular, interaction is going, I think right now we're just in a really interesting place because, again, the folk who made this hiring decision, maybe they wanted to hire this particular person because they share the same sentiments with this person. Or perhaps they didn't know, or perhaps they saw it, and even if they didn't share the sentiments, they hired the person anyways. What do they expect the outcome of this is going to look like? Do they really think that one particular side can single-handedly fund or at least make their product profitable? Perhaps they think so. If they do, it will be put to the test in 2025. Or maybe after they had actually made the decision, a lot more came out and there's nothing that they could do about it. That's also another possible interpretation. But we've been seeing a lot of different, scenarios where this has happened. Now, I have to be fair. There are some voice actors that have been harassed by some people in the gaming community. I got to put this one out there. Some of the gamers that we have out here, I got to deal with some of you, and some of you are knuckleheads. And if you're basically trying to, threaten someone or, in a sense, encourage harm against that person, you're a scumbag. Don't do it. It's just, common human decency, like, the sensibility stuff that we kind of talk about. If you don't have that kind of sense and you are hiding behind anonymity to cause trouble, get lost, like behave. However, it is not lost that some of these particular behaviors that we're seeing is more like these folk basically saying, we're drawing a line. And in many cases, we don't want you to participate in the art that we are, making. We've seen those situations. And then we've seen some situations where, the VAs, even though they were in a, game or in a production that was controversial, pretty much just kind of said, please don't bother with me. I'm just doing my own thing. And then they were largely left alone after all was said and done. But I think right now, this Ghost of, Yotei game is facing, the ladder of the challenge. And again, how Sucker Punch will navigate through this is going to be very interesting. To add, I guess fuel to the fire, Sean Layden made some comments the other day to this effect, which I covered in another video. And I'm not thinking that that's really helpful because, again, it just reeks of being out of touch in that regard. Gamers always complain about stuff. I mean, that's normal to the business. And I get it. I understand because I've seen it, in many cases happen. But I wanted to go ahead and point this out because the words of the, MVP, the, GOAT of basketball still resonate till this day that, regardless of your ideology, when you're bringing products and when you're bringing services to people, if you want for them to patronize your goods and your services, it's something that you must consider how you publicly present yourself. It's a very important, lesson to be learned. And I wish we didn't even have to say it and people had the common decency at every turn to just realize that that's a reality. But we'll see how it plays out. By the time it becomes financially expedient, everyone's going to fall in line. Don't worry. Right now, everyone's really excited and such. And, people are doing what they want to do. And, it's kind of hard to let anybody see reason until maybe stuff really gets, super serious and poop hits the fan. I think people are eventually going to start, they're going to start evaluating or reevaluating how they approach all of this stuff. And this is from all sides at the end of the day. Thanks for watching the video. Appreciate you guys' time and audience. And now, by the way, just to put a caveat, people are free to say what the heck they want to say, by the way. I'm all about that. They can chatter all the way and say what they want. I'm not saying anybody should not be allowed to speak or say what it is that they want to say. It's just, when green comes into play, might want to shut up. Thanks for watching. Peace out.